On June 10, 2006, a girl disappeared in the state of Alabama. Her name was Loris Lisinske, and she was 24 years old at the time of her disappearance. Loris grew up in a two-parent family with her mom, dad, and older brother. When she turned 13, their family moved from New York State to rural Alabama. She was a good girl who loved animals very much. In 2006, Loris graduated with honors from the University of Bern in Alabama and got a job at a small psychiatric center with her friend Lindsey Brown. Loris and Lindsey had met in their first year at university in 2002. On the evening of June 10, 2006, Loris disappeared. She had planned to attend Lindsey's bachelorette party. During a phone call around 6:30 p.m. that evening, Loris mentioned that she needed to go to the store before heading to Lindsey's. During the call, Lindsey heard a male voice in the background but didn't think much of it. Loris went to Walmart for some shopping, but what happened next remains a mystery. She never arrived at the party. When Lindsey called Loris later, a man answered, but it wasn't Loris. She went to bed, assuming Loris had decided to visit another friend who had just had a baby. The next day, Lindsey grew increasingly worried. She tried calling Loris multiple times over the weekend, leaving voicemails like, "Hey Loris, just checking on you. Are you okay? Where are you?" But Loris didn't respond. Lindsey texted Rick, Loris's friend, asking if he had seen her. He replied that he hadn't, but he was worried too. On Monday, June 12th, Loris still hadn't shown up for work or contacted anyone. On Tuesday, June 13th, she was absent again, prompting Lindsey and a colleague to visit Loris's home to check on her. Loris lived in a well-maintained trailer park popular among students. When Lindsey arrived, she noticed that the door was unlocked and Loris's car was missing. Inside, she found Loris's dog, Peanut, in a cage. The dog looked happy and well-fed, as if someone had been taking care of him. However, by this time, Loris had been missing for several days. Lindsey felt that something was wrong, as Loris would never simply disappear or ignore calls from loved ones. Loris had 3 rugs in her kitchen to help prevent Peanut from slipping, but those rugs were also missing. Additionally, a trash can was gone. On June 13th, Loris's mother, Loris Lisinske, received a call from Loris's workplace informing her of her daughter's disappearance. She immediately left work to go to Bern. When she arrived at Loris's trailer, she noticed that the phone in her daughter's bedroom was missing its long cord. This cord, which stretched across the room, could have been used to tie someone up or strangle them. On the same day, Orlin reported her daughter missing to the police. The police inspected the trailer and interviewed several of Loris's friends. Among them was 25-year-old Rick Enis, a friend of Loris's whom she had met as a student. Rick worked at a local bowling alley and was familiar with Loris's family. They had even celebrated Christmas together in 2005. He confirmed that he was at her trailer on the day of her disappearance, but insisted that Loris had been fine when he left. Rick mentioned to detectives that he and Loris had been growing illegal marijuana together, suggesting that she might have left to sell it and could have been dealing with dangerous people. However, the police found no evidence that Loris was involved in illegal drug sales. Later, Lindsey confirmed that Loris had grown marijuana but insisted that Loris used it personally and never sold it to anyone. On Wednesday, June 14, 2006, 4 days after Loris disappeared, her car was found on the road next to the bowling alley where Rick Enis worked. The car was completely engulfed in flames, but the fire was quickly extinguished. Investigators reported that the fire destroyed all evidence that could have been in the car, and Loris was not found inside. The investigation shifted from a missing persons case to a possible murder. Near the fire scene, the police found a rolled-up cigarette butt. They collected it but did not conduct any further analysis. Investigators also discovered a gas cylinder not far away in the woods, resembling one that had gone missing from the bowling alley. Later that day, when detectives re-interviewed Rick Enis, they noticed scratches on his hands. There were inconsistencies in his statements. Loris's friend, Lindsey Brown, informed investigators that before Loris disappeared, she had received a love letter from Rick. Lindsey mentioned that Loris felt Rick was not genuinely interested in her and intended to talk to him about it. Rick admitted to the police that he had written the letter, and according to investigators, he told his friends that Loris had rejected him. As investigators focused on Rick Enis, they searched his car and found a knife, handcuffs, and several cleaning products. Meanwhile, they continued to gather evidence from Loris's trailer, uncovering alarming details about Rick's past. On March 3, 1993, when Rick Enis was just 12 years old, he killed his mother and stepfather. His mother, Dolly Flowers, was a sweet, outgoing woman who had met his stepfather, Eddie Joe Flowers, at church. Rick had often locked himself in his room and was known to be uncommunicative. 10 months after the couple married, Rick shot his mother in the face and then beat Eddie to death with a baseball bat in their trailer in northern Montgomery. Afterward, he covered his mother with a velvet blanket and placed a rose on her chest. When Eddie returned home from work, Rick shot him in the face with a shotgun. 2 days later, on March 5, 1993, Rick was found walking along a dark Alabama highway. When a police officer stopped him and asked where his parents were, the boy coldly replied, "I killed them," without any visible emotion. The police discovered a kitchen knife and cartridges in his backpack, and upon visiting the Flowers family home, they found his mother and stepfather's bodies on the bedroom floor. Rick had lived with their corpses for 2 days while continuing to attend school. Investigators also found a list of potential future victims, indicating Rick's intent to harm 3 of his half-sisters. He confessed to being angry at his mother for wanting to move, as he did not want to leave his school. At just 12 years old, he was detained for 9 years in a juvenile facility and was released at age 21. After his release, Rick moved to Alabama, where he eventually met Loris Lisinske. When asked by reporters about his past, Rick claimed that his mother had sexually abused him, explaining that he lost control and committed the murders out of rage. He admitted he had been too ashamed to speak about the abuse. Following Loris's disappearance, Rick Enis became the main suspect. However, despite knowledge of his past, investigators lacked direct evidence and a body to charge him with a crime. Shortly after being questioned, Rick left Alabama, and Loris's case went cold. In 2016, Special Agent Mark Whitaker of the Alabama State Bureau of Investigation established a cold case unit and reopened the investigation into Loris Lisinske's disappearance. After reviewing the evidence, Rick Enis emerged as the prime suspect due to inconsistencies in his statements and the fact that he was the last person to see Loris alive. In examining the case files, a detective discovered that while evidence had been collected from Loris's trailer in 2006, the results had never been analyzed. A forensic report from 2007 indicated that Rick's sperm was found on a sheet belonging to Loris, and his blood was discovered on the doorframe of her trailer. Investigators later recovered the missing rugs from Loris's home. They were found by Rick's roommate, who handed them over to the police. Testing revealed Rick's blood on one of the rugs. In August 2018, prosecutors charged Rick Enis with the murder of Loris Lisinske. They located him in Virginia, where he was working for a company that manufactured portable housing structures. At the time of his arrest, he was engaged to a school librarian. On August 6, 2018, 12 years after Loris Lisinske's disappearance, authorities arrested Rick Enis. For Loris's mother, Orlin, it was a bitter moment, as it forced her to confront the reality that her daughter would never return home. Soon after, a new witness emerged in this high-profile case. Terry Booth, a man who had been friends with Rick, recalled a conversation they had in a bar years earlier. Terry remembered asking Rick why he left Alabama, to which Rick allegedly replied that he had gotten rid of his girlfriend by strangling her. At the time, Terry thought Rick was joking, but now he realized that Rick's words might have been true. Rick denied ever making such statements. Detectives continued to transfer evidence to the forensic laboratory for examination, including a cigarette butt found next to Loris's burned car. The results showed that the cigarette butt contained traces of Rick Enis's DNA. This evidence was crucial as it linked him to the scene of the arson. In 2020, Loris's older brother Paul and her parents, the Lisinskes, both died, Paul from cancer and her father from COVID-19. It's hard to imagine what her mother endured. She admitted, "I just didn't want to die without knowing what happened to my daughter or seeing how justice would be served." Due to restrictions in force around the world, the work of courts was temporarily suspended. The hearing for Rick Enis took place in March 2022. Prosecutors presented all the evidence against the suspect and listened to witnesses. In court, Enis stated, "I never killed Loris Lisinske. She was a very dear friend and I would never have harmed her." His lawyer argued that the cigarette butt was not found at the scene of the fire, suggesting that police might have taken it from Enis's home and planted it at the crime scene. The defense also attempted to accuse Loris of distributing illegal substances. Rick Enis testified in his defense, insisting he had nothing to do with Loris's disappearance. He acknowledged writing her a love letter but claimed they remained close friends afterward. Regarding the items found in his car, Enis explained that they were there because he was moving and packing. He stated that the scratches on his hands from 2006 were made by his dog. Concerning the missing rugs from Loris's house, he claimed he had no idea why his DNA was found there, and suggested he had bought them at a store. His fiancée described Rick as a decent and kind man, incapable of such a brutal crime. "I've been dating him for 4 years," she stated. "He is one of the most compassionate, generous, and kind people I have ever known. I often joke that I fell in love with his brain first." After 2 days of deliberation, the jury reached their verdict. Rick Enis was found guilty of the murder of Loris Lisinske. He faced the death penalty. However, Loris's mother and the district attorney agreed to a plea deal to abolish it. The woman expressed that agreeing to a life sentence without parole would save her from many years of potential appeal hearings and ensure that Enis would never be free. On April 14, 2022, the judge sentenced Enis to life without parole. After the sentencing, Loris's mother returned home and spent time in her daughter's trailer, which she now keeps in her backyard. She admitted that she spoke to Loris that day, saying, "Justice has finally been served. We've been waiting for this for a long time." Rick Enis maintains his innocence and plans to appeal the verdict. As of now, Loris's body has not yet been found. Share your thoughts about this story in the comments and don't forget to like this video. Thanks for watching.